Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good to see you. Oh, look, my hair. This is coronavirus and Black Lives Matter hair.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. So, good morning, Virginia. It's so good to have you on the call. Good morning, everybody. Hi out there.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I was so excited last week when we had Brian Benson on the call that Virginia and Debbie joined us, and Debbie's gonna be my guest next week. So I realized, oh, we're having like this Bay Area summit, you know, of film professionals.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really nice. And so, you know, when I think of you, Virginia, I think of you as being the script supervisor of the indie film experience in the Bay Area, you know, and you have such a long history of working here. But I don't want to start there.
Okay.
I want to start with what would make a young lady studying religion transfer into the film world. What happened? How did that happen? How did you decide this is what I'm going to do?
That's funny. That's a question I've often had when I explain to people that I graduated with a master's in theology. Well, I graduated with a BA in religious studies and then earned my master's in theology and started teaching at a Catholic high school, teaching religion. Well, the thing is that of course, my understanding of religion and spirituality has evolved since I was a young, person right out of college. But at the time, I loved movies, and I was really into learning more about religion, my own religion. Mm-hmm. But I made a connection between the two in my early 20s about it just struck me that religion is basically story, it's narrative. Mm-hmm. And it's a worldview that is created by a collectivity or a collection of narratives. And then I saw film. There were films I watched that were purely entertainment, but other films that would uplift my spirit, my inner self, and just like great literature. And so those insights basically led me to, I always loved creative writing. So when I was a kid, I was always writing stories and starting novels and not finishing them. But I basically thought, I wonder, how do you write a screenplay? What if you have an idea for a movie? And movies are so powerful. And so I read some books and I went to a couple of seminars, workshops on screenwriting and just started writing scripts. And then my next question was,
I did not know that, Virginia.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And then I thought, how are we going to get these scripts made? What do I do? How do I do that? So that led me to investigate, because when I went to these workshops on screenwriting, they had agents there. And so it led me down the path of submitting my first feature script to agents in LA. And I did actually have interest in that script from one mid-level agent, and she sent it around to several production companies. But the feedback that I received about that script was it was really well written, excellent writing, but it was a story that no one would want to see at that time. So I was like, okay, whatever, I guess. So anyway, that led me to then think, well, if I can't get somebody to make a movie, how do I make my own movie? Well, living in the Bay Area, I happened to have a friend who decided to take a course from an organization that no longer exists in San Francisco called the Film Arts Foundation.
Film Arts Foundation.
Yeah, right. It was such a great, wonderful place. A wonderful organization.
What's her name? Gail
Silva.
Silva, yes. I just saw her recently. she's a consultant now.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, she's excellent. Well, I didn't really meet Gail, but you know who I met? I took a class with my friend. He signed up for a course. He said, why don't you take this course with me? It was a 16 millimeter short film course. At that time, there was no digital. So we took a 10-week course. We met once a week with the teacher, learned the basics, and shot a short film. And then we had to cut it on a the Steenbeck, you know, cut and splice and all that. Yep. And that teacher was Debbie Brubaker. That's how I met Debbie. And so the other thing that happened was that I learned that, well, the Film Arts Foundation had a magazine, and in it had opportunities section. And I happened to see an ad by a Los Angeles script supervisor that said, if you want to be where the action is on a film set, you should learn to be a script supervisor. So I called the guy up and I said, what is that? I had done a little extra work. I'd been on some sets as an extra, but I didn't know what a script supervisor was. So I asked some details about it. And after he told me, and it was a 1 weekend course, Friday through Sunday, to learn the basics. And so I basically took that class, and then I got on a movie as a PA. Because one of the things he said was, get on a film, any film, work as a PA, and then let people know that you're a script supervisor and start to get some opportunities to work as a volunteer on low budget or short film projects. So that's how I started. And it's funny because the very first movie I worked on, the feature that I was hired as a PA on, was Debbie Brubaker was the line producer. And a few days later, she was fired. So, and it wasn't her fault. This project was a mess. I mean, it was a mess. She was lucky she got out of there when she did. But the thing is that I was in my early 30s at this time. I had been a high school teacher for years. I was very organized, and I was one of the PAs among several 18, 19, 20-year-old PAs. So they would give me a job, and I would do the job, and then I'd see other things that need to be done, just do them on my own. So within a few days, the AD department, the assistant directing department, asked the producers if they could train me to be the second AD. And so in a few days, I became the second AD on the project. And that point, it was my job to do all the paperwork for the union for SAG and purposes.
That's a job.
Yeah, sign in the actors and move them through hair, makeup, wardrobe, props and everything, get them to set and then lock set down and so forth. And then at the end of the day, fill out calculate all the numbers and so forth. So I worked on that for 6 weeks. That was a big deal. That was my film school, actually, because I'd never been to film school. Right. So, and then from that experience, I met different people. This was shot in San Francisco, and I let people know that I wanted to work as a script supervisor. And within a month or so, I was getting calls from other crew people that in San Francisco, people wear many hats, and you might be a head of construction on one movie, and then you're a director, writer on another of your own movie. Right. So that's basically what happened for about a year. I worked on maybe 7 or 8 short films and cut my teeth, got my experience, learned the things you can't learn as a script supervisor from reading books or taking notes or lecturing are things like how to follow continuity. Okay,
stop, wait. I'm going to actually slow all of this down because this was such a great story. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
I have been involved in film education for, 30 years or something. Mm-hmm. I have never seen a class on becoming a script supervisor.
Yeah, isn't that
I've never seen that. So I wonder if anybody is teaching that.
There is a woman in, her name is Randy Feldman. She's in Los Angeles, and she's had her own little script supervising school. I say little, it's not little. She's trained a ton of script supervisors from around the country. And she's been doing that for probably 25 years at least, if not more. But she's also, if she's not 80 yet, she's close. And I'm not sure what's going to happen next, you know what I mean? But she's the only one I know. I've heard of other script supervisors training people individually or, you know, here and there, but you're right, there are not really classes. The guy who taught me, he was an LA script supervisor. He put this ad in the paper, and he was just looking to get 3 or 4 people so he could come up to San Francisco and spend the week there and make a little money and do some training. And he also trained in LA. I don't know if he still does or not. I've lost touch with him, but yeah, so you're right. There aren't that many.
And I think that script supervising is an amazing job to have on set. And it's not something that I feel commonly people raise their hand and say, I'm a script supervisor.
Right.
So you took that class and then you had got the experience, although it was a nice wibbly wobbly way, which seems normal in independent film. I thought it was great that you got to be the second AD,
yes,
you said, on that first feature.
Which I'd never heard of. I mean, like I said, only sets I'd been on were as an extra, which means that you're basically held in a holding area and
somewhere in the back.
Right.
You don't get to see it.
I didn't know anything about crews and what, you know, people were doing.
My
favorite, the director and the actors and the camera people.
My favorite story about this was a year ago. One of my clients was making a film and for very sensible reasons made a decision to shoot in Ireland.
Oh, wow. I love Ireland. Oh my God.
On his case for months. You've got to have a first AD over there. You've got to have a first AD. Bring one, have one there. And the Irish co-producer said, oh no, we have someone. And so, 3 weeks before, I'm like, where's the first AD? Oh, he's coming. Where's the first AD? He's coming. The day before day one of production, still no first AD. So they arrive on, no, that's wrong. 2 days before. So it was a Saturday and day one was Monday. And a guy shows up, the first AD shows up. And, my client's like, thank God you're here, and we so needed a first AD. And he said, I'm not the first AD, I'm the second AD. I've never been a first AD.
Oh, that's terrible.
But the other thing that happened that I loved in your story was this thing about starting out as a PA and ending up as the second AD. Because I feel as though that's so common as well. I think that in this sense, independent film is very like going to war. And I don't mean that in any negative sense. I mean it in the sense of getting promoted like that is common.
Well, especially and if you show proficiency and you're on a low budget independent feature or a project, whether it's a feature or short, and your skills, stand out, they're going to definitely pull you into a different position because they're going to see the benefits of doing that.
That's right. And I feel as though when I walk onto a set, it's almost instant that I can see that. I can see proficiency is a great word, professionalism, commitment, those kind of things. And another of my clients had a PA on his first feature. Because of all kinds of things that happened, he ended up playing a lead role on the second feature, came in as assistant producer, and ended up as co-director.
Wow.
All in one, in 2 movies. But it's because of showing that professionalism.
Yeah.
That, I recently moved, and I hired somebody to help me move. And the whole time she would complain. And about an hour before it was all over, she apologized. but you know, it's the same thing on a film set. I will never recommend that person.
Right.
You know, I will never refer her to anybody.
Right.
And it's not just the action that people take. You know, that's not what proficiency and professionalism means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so another question that I have about this is that you were about to say, when I so rudely interrupted you, that what you learned in the class is one thing.
Yeah.
And then what it actually was, or what you learned on the actual set, was a different thing. So
right.
I wonder if you could go ahead and talk about
Well, let me share a little bit. I don't know if our guests here are familiar with what a script supervisor does.
Oh, let's do that. Let's
because a lot of people don't know.
The script supervisor. Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, it has nothing to do with writing the script. There are several responsibilities that a script supervisor has. Mm-hmm. One of them is, before we shoot, breaking down the script into elements and tracking those elements as we're shooting. So in addition to the elements like props, or let's say I did a movie called In the Bedroom where one of the characters cuts his finger and we have to track the Band-Aid because we're shooting out of order, of course. Uh-huh. So does he have a Band-Aid on or doesn't he have a Band-Aid on? That kind of thing. Or I did the first season of 13 Reasons Why, where the main character had a gash over his forehead, and then we were going back and forth in time when he didn't. So making sure he's got that cut in his forehead, it's in the right place and all that. So that kind of continuity, but that's something I see in the script ahead of time. So for every scene, I make a note in my notes for that scene, Band-Aid or cut, or, you know, whatever it is, a prop item. I'm also timing.
When you do that script breakdown,
yes,
do you talk about that with the director, or do you just do that work by yourself?
Oh, after I'm done with the breakdown, I will have a series of questions for the director. Often I find things that aren't logical in the script that everyone has missed up to that point. I'll say, well, if this happens on a Tuesday, but this is supposed to be Friday, how does that work? You know, the character said 2 days from now, but 2 days from now would have been Saturday, or, you know, I mean, whatever.
Right.
So I'll spot things like that because I'm very story oriented. And so I'm a fresh pair of eyes. And so I will, but I also will ask, for example, I have to figure out what day of the week is this scene happening, because the props people and set dressing are going to put a calendar up, or now there with phones, and the phones if someone's looking at a phone, we want the actual date of when this is happening in the story. So I have to confer with the director's assistant or somebody who either directly with the director or somebody else or the writer about, I kind of figure out when is this going to start. Now you can tell from the script sometimes this is happening in the holiday season, or this is happening starting in summer and ending and, you know, Easter or something like that. There might be clues in the script like that, but I literally, in my breakdown, have the exact day and time of day too. I have to, every sequence of scenes that make up one character's story day, I have to know what time it's happening, because there'll be clocks on the wall, or a phone screen is going to be shown and there's going to be that, or someone's wearing a watch and the watch is going to be prominent in the camera, right? So the props people need to know what time to set the watch. And so I create that's another detail that I do. Another thing I do is I time the script. So I literally take about 8 hours to read over the script carefully, scene by scene, with a stopwatch in hand, and acting out in my own little way at home the scene, so that I can time how long the scene will appear on screen. Now, the thing is, that's easy to do when you're doing dialogue. It is what it is. If you know the characters are going to speak, or if they're in a fight, you know, it'll be kind of quick back and forth. If they're just talking, or if there are these pauses, you build them in to the timing. But the other thing, though, is there are scenes where you have action described. And so because of my experience of working for 28 years in this business, and also being a movie lover and watching tremendous amount of movies all the time, I have a sensibility about, well, this scene where it says he walks through the park is really going to be on screen this long. It could be 3 seconds, it could be 10 seconds. I will know from the context of the scene what to give the timing for that. And then at the end of when I'm finished with the timing, of course, let's say a typical feature script should run around 120 minutes, or 97 to 120, somewhere in there, or 93 to 120. Typically, I mean, not every script is going to be that length, but typically, and I would know from the script that I'm reading, if say the script is 97 pages and it comes out to 132 minutes, I would turn often the director or the producers would say, as your timing, tell us, are there any scenes that you think don't need to be there? So I will actually get to say, you know, this scene doesn't need to be there, or this piece doesn't need to be there. I can recommend, it doesn't mean they're going to cut it out.
Right. Right.
The other thing that I'll tend to say is, well, then when that comes into play on set, is a producer will be shooting a scene and a producer will come up to me and say, how long is this scene supposed to run? And I'll say 1.5 minutes, and we'll have just done the master shot, and they'll say, how long has it been running? And I'll say, well, it was 2 minutes long. And they'll say, well, that's too long. And if the director's only going to shoot one master shot, that's a problem, and they have to speed it up. So I'll tell the director will ask me the same thing. Is this running long, or is it short, or whatever? Tell me. And I'll say they need to speed this up. And so they'll tell the actors to speed up what they're doing. And if they're going to do coverage, which is most often the case, then speeding it up isn't that big a deal, because the editor can cut all that air out of the scene by intercutting the different angles. But even someone like Woody Allen, I mean, I would tell him, because he tended often to shoot one master shot from beginning to end, and I would let him know how long it was running, and he would tell the actors to speed it up if it was a little too long.
So when you do this before production, this script breakdown, do you use particular tools, or, I mean?
Well, I'm a digital script. Right now I'm a digital script supervisor. I switched to digital in like 2009, I think, or maybe sooner than that, 2007. I thought I was the last person of the professionals to go digital, and turns out I was one of the first. And so what's exciting about that is, in the old days, I had a big binder with the script in it, plus all my extra like note-taking pages, and I'd hunch over a book with a pencil, and I'd have to erase because things change. Well, now I have a data entry program where I just have to enter the data, and then it populates into different reports that I can generate at the end of the day, which I can email. And so my wrap time at the end of a day of shooting could be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, and now it's 15 minutes, because I'm keeping up on all that information throughout the day. So one of my tools is to use that program. It's called Script with a capital E at the end. And it has different windows. For example, for every character, it has sections like wardrobe, or every scene, I can go into the character window in that scene, and I can type their props, their clothing, anything special that I know that they have before I'm even shooting, before we're even on set. So I already have sort of a template to work with, or a list to work with beforehand, and then I can always change it while we're on set. Like I said, I use the stopwatch to time while I'm doing the timing when I'm doing the breakdown ahead of time, but I also, of course, use a stopwatch on set and time the shot from action to cut. Sometimes I'm asked to time specific things that are happening on camera. I've done tons of commercials, and commercials, they'll often say, we need this to be run 3 seconds or 5
Right.
seconds. And I'll have to call out, you know, how long something was to the director. So those are the main tools now. I do also, I don't know if everybody knows what sides are, but sides are basically a miniature version of the script. Every day when you go on set, you're handed some sides, which are the pages of the script for the scenes that you are working on that day. Now, because people are getting older like me and our eyesight's not so great, they give us full sides, full size sides. So the young frisky PAs will come up and say, would you like a small side, or would you like the regular?
I haven't heard that.
And I'm always like, give me that big one, you know. I'm going to ask for the Reader Digest version next. So
right.
anyway,
and
so
yeah, is there a big difference between working on an independent project and working on a large budget project like 13 Reasons Why, when you are doing this sequence of work that you just so beautifully described to us?
Thank you. Now say, well, share with me, I mean, say the question again. I'm not quite catching the.
So here's a good question. Here's a way of putting it. What is if you think about the lowest budget project that you worked on that's a feature,
as a feature.
As a feature.
Okay.
And compare that to a big budget project like 13 Reasons Why, what would be some differences between those, and how what tools you would bring to the table?
Oh, for me, for my job specifically?
Yeah.
There would be no difference whatsoever.
Okay.
I have to bring the same tools to any job that I'm working on. All the tools I bring with me are the tools that I need to help me do my job well. So one thing I have is a mobile, I mean, it's a table. In fact, my computer is sitting on it right now. Let's see if I can sort of show you this.
Oh my gosh, show and tell. Tell.
It's my computer stand.
Oh my. Oh, so you take that on set with you?
Right. So I can take it apart easily. I have a rolling, well, people are always asking me if I'm going on vacation when I'm at work, because I buy a suitcase that rolls and I stick my equipment in it. So that's, over the years, I've tried different ways of, different types of equipment to haul my stuff around. The thing is that when you're working on any film, especially, but low budget is typical, you have to be able to break down, put your equipment away, and take off to the next set very quickly. And so you have to be as mobile as possible. And also that means you want to be as small as possible and yet have everything you need. So that's why I have a large rolling suitcase bag that has zipper pockets, and I can stick equipment. I can stick clothing in there for rain, or any contingencies that are in there, water bottles, whatever I need, and then take off and go to the next set. So basically, I mean, I do the same thing on any set I'm on. It's the same job, no matter whether it's a low budget or a large budget film.
Great. And so with the software that you're using, the Script E, is that something that has to connect with other software that's being used by the director or others on set?
No, it's not actually. The thing that over the years, there's innovations have made it possible for me to get there's an app called Q-Take Monitor, which means if the DIT or the video assist person has the Q-Take app, then they can send me, I can get that app on my lap. I use my iPad. That's where I do my notes on set. So I would get I have the app, and there's another one called Viewer. It's spelled V-U-E-R. And I can get basically I have the image of what's being shot on camera right on my computer screen, and I can grab stills from it for continuity purposes, or just to have stills in my notes. I can generate notes that have actual stills from what we shot connected to the notes. So so that's the only interface that's happening right now. I know that the people that created Scripty are working with industry, different companies, to probably create some kind of interface where it can all work together. I mean, that's something that I hear happening eventually, where it's all going to be interconnected. And I know that the Scripty people are working, I don't know, I can't say who they're working with,
Right.
not because it's a secret, because I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also want to mention, Joanne, I not to, you know, belabor this, but when I was telling you about what a script supervisor does, I really only covered.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us more. Tell us more.
Covered the prep. I only covered the prep period.
Right.
Now, on set, what am I doing on set?
Yes.
Well, one thing I'm doing on set is I am taking notes on every shot that is taken, and I take not only technical notes, for example, how long did the scene last? Because at the end of the day, I have to count up how long the movie's running at that point. And that number will go to the producers, and they sometimes will say, this movie's running too long, and they'll pressure the director about cutting scenes or, you know, cutting down things. So I'm timing. I'm also making notes. If the director has a note about something, a take we did, they love it, or they only love the first half, I'll put those notes. I'll put the DP notes down if there are any sound. I'm also recording, keeping note of what camera roll was this shot on, so that they can find it, and what sound roll. I describe the shot. So every take we do, I have a description that's associated with that take and all the takes that follow. I also make sure the actors say the dialogue as scripted. And if they don't, I have to go to the actor after we cut to remind them if they've forgotten something or said something incorrectly. That's always, the director and I discuss whether or not he or she wants the dialogue to be exact, or if it's close enough, it's okay. A good example is, you would think that Woody he told the actors, if you if you have a different, you can say what I've written, or you can say it your own way. No, don't worry about it. But not one actor would change what he wrote. So it was kind of funny. But
Right.
And sometimes they would have trouble with the dialogue, and he'd remind them. He said, you know, if you're having problem with that, just say it whatever way you want. And they would always go, no, I want to say it the way you wrote it. You know, so it was really funny. But other directors are like, no, if they change anything, let me know. They should know exactly what was there, and you know, and then I have to go tell the actor what they changed. The other thing is I'm watching continuity, not only hair, makeup, wardrobe, props, and set dressing, to make sure everything stays consistent whenever we shoot things from different angles, obviously. And that means like we start the day on one angle, and then 3 hours later, we're shooting a completely different angle of the same thing. I also have to make sure that the actors are doing their actions with continuity. So let's say we're at a dinner table and they're having a meal. So 3 hours ago when we shot at the Master, when did they take a bite of food? Now they have to do it the same way. They have to match that for the take that the director liked the best. The director will tell me, let's match to that take. I love that take. Okay, so from then on, that actor has to smoke at the same time, drink at the same time, and I have to know when that is. And you know, think about it. If there's one person in a scene, that's one thing. But you're talking about 3 or 4 or 5 people, and we're covering them. That's when this job becomes ridiculous. You know, that's when I'm questioning the meaning of life, because you know. And then I have to go up and tell people. And some actors are welcome those comments, and some actors don't. And I mean, I've had famous actresses, I've gone up to them and said, as they see me coming, their first question is, what did I do? you know, and I'm like, oh my God, Nicole Kidman's giving me the stink eye right now. And I'm like, well, you know, Miss Kidman, so when you said this, you took a puff of smoke. And she's like, oh, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, just wanted to let you know. And then I skitter back to my place. Whereas there's another person I worked with who I love, I've worked a couple times with, Sissy Spacek. And there was this one scene in the bedroom, and she was on the telephone, and the director called cut, and Sissy screams from the back room, oh, Virginia, I'm so sorry. I had the phone in the wrong hand. I'll never do that again. And I just yelled back, it's okay, Sissy, it's okay. You know, it's like, don't let it happen again. Okay. You know, it's like, and she laughed. So she's like telling on herself.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And
I always worry when I see actors smoking. I can't remember what it was, but it was just a couple of days ago. I was watching a movie and there was a lot of smoking, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many cigarettes did they have to smoke to get this, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, here's another little thing, like now all the departments like hair, makeup, wardrobe, props, they're supposed to be watching continuity, but I'm the supervisor. Right. So people will always say, was the glass in the right hand, was the purse on the left shoulder, was whatever. Hair is a big, there are certain things, now that I've done this long enough, that women who have long hair and it's hanging down, right? So there's times when someone's hair, they're both big strands of hair in the front, and then all of a sudden they go like this in the middle of the shot, right? Or we're doing it all day long, and then all of a sudden this hair's here and this hair's back, right? That's not going to match. You can't cut back and forth without people going, why is her hair back there now? You know what I mean? So what I do now, yes, exactly. What I started doing a long time ago was I'd go to the hair people and I'd say, look, is her hair going to be here? Or is it going to be here and here, or what? You know, let's set it. And so I make sure now the professionals are really on that. They're all over that. That's not even an issue. But I've been on sets where they're not as experienced people or not as attentive people, where that becomes an issue, you know?
Right.
So those are some of the things. And another part of my job that I love is that I often have been, directors I work right next to the director, and I often am welcome to give input. Like if there's a problem happening and they can't solve it, they're trying to shoot a scene. One example, and that's always exciting if I give an idea and it's used and it ends up in the final cut of the film. I'm always excited about that.
Yes.
So
I have to ask, because I want to eventually, like 9:45 questions, and we've got a lot of things to cover. So, but I'm dying to ask who your favorite director you have ever worked with has been.
Oh my gosh. That's a tough one.
Is it tough because there's so many that you've enjoyed?
Yeah, there are several that I really, really like. The first person who came to mind was Peter Bratt.
Oh, wow.
Because he's such a dear, darling person.
Oh my gosh.
So Peter Bratt would be really up there. I mean,
which Peter Bratt movies did you work?
La Mission.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course,
I think
directors I've been most. I'm sorry, what?
I think I've talked in this interview process before, but when I used to run a cinema, we showed Follow Me Home.
Oh, it's such a great film.
For 1 week, and we had a producer from the film who came, and she spoke before every movie, every showing, and I listened to her every time. And so I've only met Peter Bratt personally for maybe 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But I feel as though I know so much about him because I had the privilege of listening, and he is such a hero of mine.
Yeah.
Such a hero, and another Bay Area professional.
Yeah. No, he's really an amazing human being, that's for sure. And he and his brother Benjamin starred in La Mission, and I would say that was the most significant or impactful project I ever worked on.
Yeah.
Debbie Brubaker was the line producer, and Brian Benson was the AD.
Yep.
That's how
Right.
that may be the first time I worked with Brian, I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
But no, I don't think it is the first time, actually. I think I worked with him before that. But yeah, that was a very special production. Another person I really enjoyed was the director, the showrunner of the Looking, HBO Looking series called, and his name is Andrew Hay, and he was wonderful to work with. I, of course, was super, it's Haigh. And
I should have waited for one of the fabulous people on the call. They always get on it, but I was trying to make sure it was written down.
Okay. So another, of course, the person that I was most astounded to work with, and it was really a pleasure to work with, was Woody Allen, because I'd always been a fan of his movies. And I did Blue Jasmine, and I did Irrational Man with Joaquin Phoenix and Emma Stone with him, and we shot that in Rhode Island. And so that was pretty amazing.
And so your closeness to the directors, I mean, that's another thing I think is great about this position.
Yeah.
Working so closely with the directors. So in recent times, you have now become a director of your own film. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and you know, making that transition. Having watched.
Well, it's funny. Okay, so as I mentioned, when I entered the film world, the industry, my goal from the very beginning was to direct and write and direct my own stuff 28 years ago. Well, I finally fulfilled that dream this summer. So it took 28 years to do it, for a variety of reasons. I mean, I could have done it sooner if circumstances had allowed, but you know, life sometimes throws you curveballs, and I've had a few in my life. So that kind of took me off track, but I always kept that goal, that dream in mind, and I finally did. So my whole purpose for becoming a script supervisor was I was in my 30s. I was entering film business. I had no connections. I didn't know anything about the film process, film production, or anything. I did not want to go to film school at that point. And I thought, I'll learn. This looked like the perfect job to learn how to direct by working at the side of directors and seeing what they do and how they do it, and to see production from that angle. And so I felt ready to direct for years. But what I didn't have, the tools to make it possible for us to do what we can do now have evolved since I began. Like I said, the first film I did direct, that little short film for the class with Debbie Brubaker, but that was shot on 16 millimeter, and that was before digital. So for a while, the tools weren't there for anybody to make a film like we do now. But also money, the part about getting money and finding, you know, how do you get money to make it possible for you? And plus the other thing that it took me a while to do, which actually I could have done earlier, is to network with people. So now when I made my film this summer, I had a lot of film professionals who were really supportive and happy to work on my film and support me, because over the years I've done that for many people. I've worked on other people's passion projects for no pay, and I've been very supportive of people. So I finally decided to call in some of those, call in those favors. So yeah, so the experience I had, I shot my short musical satire in one day, but of course it took several weeks to get there. And it was all that it was just what I dreamed. I mean, I shouldn't say just what I dreamed. It was so exhilarating. It was so exciting. It felt so good. I felt very grounded and like, yes, I'm doing what I, believed I could do. It's happening. And I was just a super exhilarating, wonderful experience to get to that point. And, it was very challenging, as all of you know, I'm sure. I know a lot of you, I recognize some faces here, that not that I know you personally, but I know who you are. And so I know that some of you have already done this, but you know, it was really a gratifying, amazing experience to get to the point where I could do my own project. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I love the photo that we used, my fabulous intern here, Angela, used with you with your arms out. Like this. And it's such a great shot because the role of the director is such a leadership position.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, everything that you've said about being a script supervisor, oh please, that's a leadership position, and you know, being supervising all these departments in terms of continuity and all of that stuff, and everything you described. But then there's something, and I have to say, particularly for women, that it's difficult to make the transition. Clearly you have all the skills, clearly you have all the connections and the knowledge,
Right.
but to make that transition into that role as being the leader is something that is challenging for everybody, for all human beings to make that step up. But I do think particularly for women, it's a challenge.
Well, I mean, and especially when you're older like me, and you have a lot of
No.
you have a lot of responsibilities, and to take a risk and spend some of your, you know, savings and live in the Bay Area, do that to do that for a creative, you know, expression.
You raised money.
I did, yes.
I also have to say that requires a level of leadership that is often frightening.
Yes, exactly. That was the biggest, you know, one of the greatest challenges for me. And I'm so happy that I met you, Joanne, because you were pivotal in helping me to get to that place where I had the courage and the skills, or the ability to envision raising funds and doing it. I mean, I didn't do it perfectly, but it was my first time out. And yet I had a very successful campaign as far as I'm concerned. I raised about $14,000, which was shocking to me. And I thought, and that was very, you know, feels like a good accomplishment, but was, you know, really grateful that I met you, because I met you at the right time. It was the right moment when we met. And you were extremely instrumental in helping me to achieve that dream. And I'm really grateful, as I've told you before.
Yes, no, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that the reason, well, firstly, you're an amazing person to work with, but I really do think that a lot of times, you know, filmmakers are very aware that, you know, it takes money to make a film, but I think that we're less aware of the internal struggles to take on, as I said, leadership roles and visibility when, especially for somebody who has 28 years experience of being very much behind the camera.
Right.
In that, you know, behind the scenes role, and then to step forward, this is all, you know, stuff that's just internally huge. It's a hero's journey to be able to play that role.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, what you've done. I think it's really amazing. And I want to open it for questions, but I also have to say that because you started out with that master's in theology, and now getting to tell a very specific story with all of that background in your religious studies, I think is really important. That's your voice that's out there.
Yeah. Well, just, I mean, a quick description of my film is I have 12 men dressed as Catholic priests singing that they don't like dames and they don't want dames in the church. So it was while women are cleaning the church around them. So yeah, There's a full circle here, starting with that theology degree and then creating this film that basically satirizes sexism in the Catholic Church.
And there's a happy ending.
When the lockdown, what?
Go ahead. I was going to say there's a happy ending where the women.
Yes, the women throw the girls out. They drive them out.
We're all experiencing right now. So
yeah. So I'm hoping that it's called ALTAR+CATION, the musical. And it's not available yet. ALTAR+CATION, obviously spelled ALTAR, CATION, the musical. And with the lockdown and everything, I'm doing the festival entry thing, and I don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see. Hopefully in the fall, festivals will be, happening. But then it's like, will somebody want to show my film? I don't know. But anyway, it's right now, I'm just working the festival route, and we'll see what happens.
Virginia, I think we talked a little bit about that, but let's.
Yeah, no problem.
About that. So let's open it to questions. And as always, I'm going to ask you to just physically raise your hand or digitally raise your hand to ask a question. And for some reason, it's happening in these calls that it comes to the end and everybody sits there totally silent.
Oh, don't worry.
And then, the same person is going to raise their hand every time. And I'm like, come on, ask a question. Virginia is pretty much the most connected person in the Bay Area you could wish to meet.
I see some hands up.
So Rolf, and then impersonating Juliet can go after. Rolf first and then you, okay?
Well, actually, I was going to raise my hand on behalf of Karen because she had a question earlier. So I don't know, Karen, if you're still there.
Do it.
Do you want to go, Karen, or not? Okay, maybe not. All right, well, my question is about...
Go ahead, Rolf.
My question is about the budget. I think Virginia, you mentioned you raised, I misheard, is it 14K or 140,000?
Yes, 14K. I would, yeah, 14,000
would be nice to make a short.
I know,
oh,
right?
For a short, sorry.
Yes, a short, not a feature, yeah.
Okay, so do you mind me asking, you're planning to shoot your first feature, right?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah. Okay, right. Okay.
Someday.
My question's irrelevant.
But you can ask me the question if you want.
Well, no, it was going to be whether you stuck to the 100K formula for a feature, but since you're not there yet.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, can't answer that.
Relevant. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. The lady who's impersonating Juliet Romeo.
Hi. My question is,
what's your name? What's your name?
I can't fix it. I had to use her link because I couldn't get my own link. This happens more often than I'd like to. My question is, what is the most important skill you've learned throughout your career? Like, what do you think is the most important thing that that you wish you knew when you started?
That's the question.
Wow, that's a great question. Wow. I think the thing that jumps out to me is to succeed in this work, whether you're in charge or you are part of the support team, is that you need to have the ability to work with others well, to be a good collaborator. So, and sometimes that means you have to assert yourself, and sometimes that means you need to step back. So it's getting the skill of knowing when to assert yourself and when to stand back or step back a little bit and observe is, I think, a really important skill. The people that succeed in this work are people that other people like to work with. Because when you are someone, and I don't mean you have to be, fake, sweet, kind, or whatever. I mean, first of all, you're good at what you do, so you have to be proficient at what you do. But you're also somebody that other people are going to be, they're going to, enjoy is not the right word, but you're spending 14 hours a day with each other. Anybody who has, people that are really, really negative, for example, are not people that others want to hang out with for 14 hours.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Now that doesn't mean you can't be critical of things that if I see injustice or I see any problems, I address them very directly. But I'm also there to support my coworkers. So being supportive and collaborative, to me, that's the biggest thing. You need to know your job, obviously.
Okay.
So funny that you brought up the thing about negativity.
Yeah.
Because I feel as though one of the things that I work on a lot with my clients is to remove that from their communication.
Yeah.
Because it cannot work in this industry.
Exactly.
It cannot, because unless you have 100% focus on making sure that this project goes well for everybody,
Right.
you just don't have a job.
Right.
Joe, go ahead. You're muted, Joe. You're muted, Joe.
Good morning.
Hi.
Virginia, I want to go back to something you said very early. I'm just curious. You
Yeah.
said you wrote a very nice script that wasn't right for the times.
Yeah.
Right now?
Great question.
You know what? That script needs to be worked on. Even now, I haven't touched that in a long time, but yeah, I mean, I think that it would have, and it might be, you know.
I ask because I'm a producer, always looking for good scripts, and it's
Oh,
not
I
like you got
see.
one.
God. All right, sold. Yes, of course it's for now. Yes, absolutely.
Give us the log line, Virginia.
Oh God, I knew you'd ask me, Joanne. I can't.
Can you tell us a theme or two?
Oh, the theme. It's about it. Again, this goes back to my theology. When I first started writing it, it's write what you know kind of thing. And it's about us. It's about the Catholic Church, the shift in the church after the Second Vatican Council. It's about a nun who falls in love at a graduate theology program with a priest.
And Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah, there you go, right? So yeah, it's basically about this, what happened in the Catholic Church in the late 60s and early 70s, when all these nuns and priests and brothers were sent to theology programs to be updated, and they ended up falling in love and leaving and marrying each other. So it's about a summer program where this happens. So
I will buy you a cup of coffee to talk about that.
Oh,
wow.
I love it. Don't you love it, Joe?
I love you, Joe.
Oh my God.
Hey, I'm a recovered Catholic. I'm very interested.
Oh, there you go.
Me too.
Man, that's exciting.
Awesome.
I love it. Thank you.
Good pitch there.
Oh, I definitely love to hear more.
Okay, great.
Let's go ahead.
Yes.
Hi, Virginia. Thank you for being here today. My understanding was always that there was a separate continuity person. When I look at credits, there's a continuity person. Has that changed, or is it just that maybe on bigger budget studio pictures, there's a separate person, but not independent?
Oh no, script supervisor is the continuity person. It's possible that if you're looking at films like British films, they might call the person continuity, but it's the same position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Karen, go ahead.
Hi, Virginia.
Hi.
I was going to go back to the director script supervisor relationship. What would you, us as budding some of us, first time feature directors, what would you say is one of the most important things to look at that relationship in entering that relationship? And the second thing is kind of what's for the director, the first time director, feature director, best ways to prep to kind of, and pitfalls that the first feature director that you've seen run into on a set.
Okay, well, pitfalls, I'll start with that, and then you remind me about the first question, which was the relationship between you and the script supervisor, right, as a director. So pitfalls I've seen. So yes, I've worked with many first-time directors. I've done, and I've had the pleasure of working with amazing first-time directors. I worked on Fruitvale Station with Ryan Coogler. So, I mean, how can you? That's like winning the lottery, right? But he was still, and he had never done a feature, so you know he relied on me for to keep, you know, watch his back and make sure he was not missing things. So, sorry, now my mind's blanking out. Pitfalls of the first-time director. One of the pitfalls is something that it's choosing your core team, choosing the best people with either who are experienced or that are really top-notch and able to fulfill the position. I'll tell you the people that I'd say are the most important people that you should choose carefully. Your AD, obviously your producer, and you're going to be, if you're an independent, you're going to be a producer as well, but your producer that's going to take on the, while you're directing, take over the producing, all of the producing, or most of it, you know, while you're doing. But so your AD should be top notch, somebody with experience who knows how to organize, to schedule, and to keep something, you know, keep production going, and listening to those people that you've chosen to help you, being able to be nimble, because whenever you plan and shoot a film, things are bound to come up that you don't expect. So you have to be able to make decisions and be nimble and listen to those advising you that you trust, and make a decision and move on, and resolve the issue that's whatever's popped up, you know. So the AD, I would say, is key. Of course, your casting is critical, because if you're doing a low budget feature and you have actors who can't memorize their lines or can't do continuity, I mean, I would test how they handle props, you know, beforehand, because
Oh, wow.
oh my gosh, you know, you can be on a set and an actor, a person who can't do things consistently, that's going to sabotage your project. You don't have time to massage and work those things. You're going to have to take 1 or 2 takes, maybe 3 at the most, and move on.
Yep.
So you want to have that kind of top-notch cast and crew. Well, the crew, I mean, not that the crew should be top-notch, obviously, but I mean, the critical crew, like the AD, is, I can't stress how incredibly important that position is.
Yeah,
to the success of a low budget feature. Yeah.
And well trained, you know, properly trained actors are.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's 10:03.
Uh-huh.
Our time is up. I want to, you know, be respectful. We do an hour.
Sure.
I just want to thank you, Virginia, so much.
Mm-hmm.
You are a gold mine of information. Now we're going to have your movie produced. So, you know, everybody,
Joe.
everybody. And I just really appreciate you. It's such a pleasure to know.
Thank you.
To work with you, really. And you just have given us so much information today. So
yeah, thank you so much.
Close us out with, I always say at the end, I'm putting my
Joanne, can I just say something really quickly?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, so I just wanted to share, if there's anyone who had other questions or wanted to contact me, feel free, you can email me. And I don't know if Joanne, you want to give them my email address or whatever, but I'd be happy to talk to anyone who's interested or wanted to ask further questions or whatever. So
okay, well, people have my email address, and also it comes across very clearly that you're a teacher regularly. You know,
yes.
You take your program to Sundance every year from St. Mary's College, and you know, really you are a teacher in your cells. You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say that I've been doing these interviews, and it's been just wonderful to get a deeper conversation about your work, because you and I have worked together, but we were working on your film, and then we weren't necessarily talking about your career stuff. We were talking about, you know, being a director. So it's really nice to hear, and we always love to hear the stories as well. So I want to say that yesterday, I had put my my information in the chat, and somebody set up a Filmmaker Success breakthrough session with me, which is what I do. It's a 45-minute conversation that I have with somebody, and you know, this is about working with me, and it's become my favorite thing. I know it's like really a strange thing to say, but it's become my favorite thing because I get to use all my skills and experience and intuition, and I think that's the part that I haven't really learned to talk about what I exactly do, but anyway, my intuition to really get an idea of where somebody wants to go and where they want to go with their career, and then it's much easier to clarify what we're going to do next, you know. And yesterday I had one of these conversations with somebody, and if we were on WhatsApp, and my first question was, where am I speaking to? And she was in India, and it was 9:30 at night, and I was so excited, so excited, you know. And I think that that's what the power of, you know, coronavirus and Zoom has brought us, you know, that we get to be from wherever, you know. We have people here from Miami, and I don't know who's our furthest away. I always like to do this, and please feel free to drop us, Virginia, but who's the furthest away from San Francisco today? Who's going to win the furthest away gold star?
Me.
Juliet is in Miami.
Wow.
Who else? Who else? Chris, are you in the Bay Area? Chris Traub?
Yes, I am. Oh, sorry, different Chris.
Chris Traub, are you in the Bay Area? You're muted. You're muted, Chris Traub.
There we go. Okay, yeah. I am in Windsor, which is about just over an hour north of San Francisco.
Oh, okay, okay. So I think our Miamians are our furthest away. Oh, Ashley! Ashley's in the UK. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Good to see you, Ashley. So yeah, it's really Yanni, South Florida. That's right. Yanni and Juliet and Karen are all in Miami. So and Edward, I think, is here today from Miami. So it's really good to feel like the community, you know, and there are filmmakers obviously all over the world. And, you know, in this time of such change and awareness of, you know, the multicultural world that we live in, I realized, you know, when I was talking to this wonderful, she's a wonderful filmmaker, cinematographer, works all the time, was telling me stories about working in Bollywood and all kinds of things. But you know, we have a lot of skills to share with others, so we can tell our stories, and we can help other people tell their stories as well. So once again, I'm going to
well, Joanne, before you, I want to just thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting, and also to thank you for bringing all these people together. Since I've met you and I watch how you work, I'm very impressed. I've learned a lot from the way that you connect people, and that's beautiful. It's so helpful. And, you know, at any given time when we're together like this, we all gain something from one another. And so thank you. You have a tremendous gift of not only empowering people and helping people to fulfill a vision for themselves that maybe they're afraid to step forward and try to do, but also to bring people together and connect people. That's a superpower. And thank you so much.
Thank you for saying that. You know what, that now just reminded me. So last year this year in January, we were in Park City, and Virginia and I wanted to get together. So we got together, and we were at this, this pizza joint on Main Street. And I was like, oh, well, let's, you know, I had 5 clients there. Juliet was already back home, and but I got Lowell to come over, and then I think Colin came by, and And then you had your students were coming and visiting, and it was the most fun. And we were just sitting there I was drinking, you know, bad decaf coffee at this pizza joint, and you know, we had this whole like, this whole thing going on, and it was awesome.
It was a fun nexus of interconnectivity.
Exactly. It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
All right. I hope it's not next January till I see you next.
Oh yeah. Well, I hope we get to go to Sundance in January. I mean,
well, don't. Yes, we're going.
yeah. I mean, well, I'm going as long as they're open. You know.
We're going.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
So fingers crossed, it'll work.
We'll be there. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
So much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Great
Thank you.
questions. Yay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I gotta hit leave or it won't stop.